it's not so much that I think about the paintings, it's how I feel the painting. Yeah? There's a very difficult thing. If you, like, there's a painting over there on the right wall there, yeah, in the other room. There's just a line, a white line.
Yeah.
The most difficult thing is, if you paint a white line, it's not enough to have a white line. Yeah? It has to do something for me. Yeah? I only talk about me. And this is what's all about. To minimize or maximize the things you do and get the best result out of it, for me as a painter. How it is done, secondary. Yeah.
But isn't inherently with your painting process, the way that it's done essential to the final result, because you are constructing this?
Sure. Sure. But you know, it doesn't have much to do with it.
Okay.
I don't know if that's understandable or not. Yeah.
And also it doesn't have much to do with the technique. It's not the technique that's being shown off.
Sure.
The technique is being applied.
It's necessary.
It's necessary.
It's not necessary.
But not important.
Does it make sense? I don't know.
Well, does art make sense?
So would you talk a little bit about what happened or what the journey was like to go from the paintings in their small ones, the early ones that are very kind of tribal in some ways, to, and a little heavier, to this kind of ethereal paintings that you're doing now, besides the 30 years or whatever?
It's a working process. Yeah. If you look close at those things in there, when we call it tribal, then it probably has something to do with my travel. I was staying for almost half a year on the Easter Island with all this tribal stuff. Yeah. So, and but the work over there is somehow figurative. Yeah, there's some figuration. So I took this all out, and to your question, if you paint, I believe a good painter has to come to a point where he can use less than a year ago, or less than the last painting, because less is more. Yeah? So the tribal things, or the colors, or whatever is in there, I don't need it anymore. I don't need it anymore to where I like to go. This is the process from there to here. The rest is just like a working process. You can translate that better.
I think you did pretty well. If looking at it from the outside, it's a journey from the material, from the emphasis on the physical substance that is there, that is not simply visual, but arguably tactile. There's something that is immaterial. There's clearly paint involved here. You can see brushstrokes. You can see manipulations of pigment, but you cannot feel them. If you were allowed to touch the surface, all you feel would be a smooth surface, and your eyes tell you that anyway. And there is as much information, there is much excitement of the eye in these, at least as much as there are in the other work. It just happens on a level where what you're seeing moves away from you rather than moves towards you.
Yeah, sometimes they disappear from me.
There's a lot of this.
Yeah, because I have this often on art, especially on art fairs, where a lot of people, it's all overwhelming, so people run around. Suddenly they're stuck because they don't see this, right? Or they see it just there. Or because on an art fair you don't see things like this that much. And so they stop. And then they go close. How is this done? Yeah. And here's exactly the thing. It doesn't matter because you're losing it. If you go too close, it disappears on you. So it doesn't matter how it is done. Right? What matters is it stopped you.
Right.
Right? There is something.
Yeah.
Don't ask me what it is.
Right.
Maybe a good painting, hopefully.
Yes.
So, you know, that's all I can do.
There's
Right.
something.
It's not how it's done, it's how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it stops people in the trap, you know.
Right.
So that's good.
Exactly. But then it moves away from them as they get closer. It's like hunting rabbits.
This is the thing. Our society, everybody, you and me too, we always have to know how it is done, what it is. What is it?
Yeah.
So if you know what it is, half the fun.
Right. It's like a magician explaining his tricks.
Peter, I think Drex over there has a question.
Oh, good. Thank you.
I'm sorry, we walked in a little late, and I'm not sure that you touched on this earlier, but I wanted to ask if you could speak to the compositional contribution as opposed to the light aspect of these paintings. They're so minimal that I see as strong a connection to composition as I do to the subtleties of light, transparency.
Well, how the picture is built. In other words, not just what the effects are, but how any one of these paintings is structured as a tableau. And there is that quality too. In fact, that quality is necessary because that's what remains when the tricks move away from it.
Back to the material. Back to how they are done, right? That's the question, right?
Yeah.
And composed. I guess balance-wise.
Well, there has to be some sort of composition. Udo is not a minimalist painter. He works with minimized means, but not minimal means. Many of these are very expansively gestural. They could be like abstract expressionism without the color.
Yeah.
The composition, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's movement. My paintings also, a big element is time. Right? Time is movement. Yeah. Movement in gesture. Gesture? Gesture. Yeah, sorry, my English. Yeah. So there's movement. Yeah. And because there has to be movement, because the painting itself, it's time, it's changing every day, every hour it's changing. Because the light that comes from the outside, natural light, yeah, is changing all day long, hour to hour. And the painting is doing that too, because I reflect lights. Yeah. The composition, it's necessary. If you paint something, you have to have a composition, right? One scratch is the composition. Not so necessary for me. For me as an artist, if I say my compositions are not necessary, it's stupid to say. But that's what it is.
But still, there is a strong compositional sense. You picked up on it.
Yes, I see a strong compositional sense.
Yeah.
As an element.
The element is my paintings. I'm painting for a long time already, yeah. And this is what's left from what I painted. This one painting, what leans against the wall, right?
Yes.
I did a lot of figuration in the 80s with like heads, yeah. And so the element, the composition is still in there,
Yeah.
but it's completely, it's in a completely different way. It means a completely different thing than any realistic things. Yeah. This is between. Yeah, it's an abstract painting.
It's not an object. That's an important thing. That the composition reifies the fact that these are paintings. These are, among other things, pictures of some. I don't know if they're not pictures of something. They seem to be more pictures of somewhere. Because they have this elusive depth. The somewhere may be a patch of fog on the coast, but or the nebulous image you get as you're waking up from a dream. I mean, I don't mean to over romanticize these things, but the actual visual experience of this dispersion of optical effect.
It is something what's not there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is not existing, but it's there, and everybody knows it was there already.
Right.
Yeah, and it's like with smell. A sense of ours, the smell is a very strong sense.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you smell something and it remembers you to something like 20 years earlier, but you don't get it exactly where it's coming from, but you're familiar with this. And this shows pretty much the same thing, because I hear that often. People say they see it first time, second time, they say, yeah, I know exactly what it is. Yeah? And yeah, they probably are, because there's something like what you probably saw, wherever, whatever, maybe in yourself, wherever it's coming from, but this is existing before. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. That we tend to recognize many of these paintings. That we take a look at one of these canvases and we say, wait, I've seen this before. I've been here before. I've done this before. I've been through this before. The experiential quality of any one of these provokes these associations.
So a suggestion that has been distilled to a very basic.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the distillation of it, of
Distillation
experience.
of suggestion.
Right. Which is not a minimal strategy. It's very expansive, as is incorporating light like this.